The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Armed Media, New Productions and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
Joined your channel.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Cellar 13 Films, Chips, Dips, Films, and Scripts. My name is Glenn Spillman. You are listening to us live on Armed Radio. Armed Radio is located in Boston, Massachusetts, and currently, right this second, we are being boomed out to 60 countries around the world. And Armed Radio, they have over 3 million listeners every single week on all their shows that they got going on. I give a shout out to a couple of the shows. You know, my buddy Johnny Blender's got a show called Whiskey, Cars, and Cigars every Wednesday, 5 p.m. Pacific time. And Lynn Gibson has a show called The Southern Horror Queen. And of course, you've got Night Talk with Joe Rocks, Pot Talk with Jimmy Bell, Straight Talk with Matt Heasley, and Get Your Swole On. So, I'm still nursing this cold. I'm just getting over it. I hope I get over it, because tomorrow morning I'm supposed to be on set in the Bay Area. So, I hope this doesn't affect my performance, because it's going to suck. I asked somebody today, I'm like, man, the way I sound right now, do you think that's going to affect my performance tomorrow? And they go, well, it might, but we shall see. The show tonight is slasher films. That is the topic, and freaking why not? I mean, we are just a few days away from Halloween, but right now, here, that is happy hour sound right there. And I know on the East Coast in Boston, where we're being aired out of, it's party time there right now. 3 hours over. People here in Cali, they're just getting off work, hitting happy hour. So I've got me a little cerveza here. So we'll be sipping on that throughout the show. I'm going to give some shout outs to some people throughout the show, and one of the company, the thing that I just did a couple of weeks ago, Sinister Creature Con, I'm going to give a shout out to them, because they're going to have, next year again in Stockton and in Sacramento, Scottish Rite Center. If you've not been to a Sinister Creature Con, check it out. I mean, because listen to the name, Sinister Creature Con. I mean, it is everything horror. They've got artists. They've got, people that just have a shite ton of just different stuff that they're selling, whether it be posters or the bartender actually is Anna here. She was afraid to approach, but the bartender is approaching me with, they can't open this champagne, or as Christopher Walken would say on Live Champagne. So here we go. This is how you properly open it. Okay, maybe not. That was a bit loud. But anyway, there you go, bartender. You're welcome. So they've got people from Face Off, makeup artists like Alan Carnes. Alan Carnes is actually doing a severed head for my film that I'm currently in production with, A Raven's Cry. And I do want to apologize to people that maybe were waiting to see the show last week, didn't get to see it or hear it. I was on set in a state that I can't mention where I was at. I can't talk about the film or the actors that I was acting with. I'm under specific rules on not to do that. So anyway, get your questions ready. Ask me some questions throughout the show. Anything that has to do with movies, period. But specifically tonight, the horror genre, and even more specifically, slasher films. I got some really cool stuff I'll show you guys later that I got at the Sinister Creature Con. Well, one of them I'll show you now. Speaking of slasher films, I got a freaking butcher knife right here. Signed by George Wilbur, who was one of the actors that played Michael Myers in the film Halloween. So that is actually kind of, proper to show on and for those of you listening all around the world on Arms Radio to Cellar 13 Films, we have two cameras in front of us, so we've got people watching as well so they could ask questions, make comments. So, what is a slasher film? There's many, I ask people, all month, hey, what do you think a slasher film is? What's your favorite slasher movie? Whatever. But by definition, dictionary definition, and I quote, there's two of them. There is slasher. It's funny, but the first one is a person or thing that slashes. That's kind of a very vague. This one is better though. A horror movie, especially one in which victims, and in quotations it says, or parentheses it says, typically women or teenagers are slashed with knives and razors. So, alright. Slasher films. There's many different categories of slasher films. There's your people that I talk to that love the horror genre. We got Donovan Murphy watching. What's up, brother? Donovan Murphy is, and he's not paying me to say this, man. He is the best sound person in Northern California. He's my sound guy for all of our films. And, well, he's a sound guy for a lot of other people, but I like to claim him. So if that's okay, Donovan, I'm going to claim you, brother. But I've been talking to a lot of people, and they consider Psycho a slasher film. That's not a wrong answer, if you will, because if you think of in Psycho, what did the guy do? I mean, ring, ring, ring. He stabbed the chick in the freaking in the shower, and that technically is slashing. And he also killed another guy on the stairwell in the movie, slashing in a movement. And then he attempted to kill another woman when he got caught slashing. So that technically, by technical definition, is a slasher film. I believe it was 1960 when it came out, and there was a little bit of controversy, if you will, about that. And later on in the show, I'm going to talk to you about some films that every single one of these films that we talk about have or had, and some of them still have, but had a high public outcry and controversy. People were pissed off that these movies were out. One of them, and we will get to that, but one of them I could understand somewhat because even in the time period when it came out in the 70s, it was highly violent. The scenes were highly violent. A lot of nudity, both from men and women. So, yeah, but we'll get into that momentarily. And again, folks, I apologize for the sniffing. I'm not on cocaine. I just have a cold. So I just want to let people know that that's what's going on. So, as far as other slasher films, let's just kind of go over. I mean, I've got a few right here from my private collection, and some of my favorites. I've got right here, I've got Hellraiser 3. I mean, I like all the Hellraiser movies, but I just pulled out Hellraiser 3. I've got all of them. This one, when it came out, I believe it was 1984 when the first one came out. It had a budget of $1 million. And that was, back then it was a lot of money. It's a lot of money today. Tori Rasmussen, welcome to the show. But it made a shite ton of money. But there was a lot of quote, even though that it was used with hooks and whatnot, that was still considered a slasher film. So you've got the Hellraiser series. You've got a film that is argued amongst people. It is argued whether this film is a true story or not. I've actually been and talked to a few people. And I've done research, so whether it's parts of it, all of it, or whatever, Tobias, welcome to the show, brother. Even if it's not, let's just say for the sake of argument, it's not. Right here, Texas, well, the one that I have in my hand, I've got the Texas Chainsaw Massacre of the beginning. So this is one that they made, after. So Chrissy0731, welcome on Periscope. So we got Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That is an epitome of slasher, because even in the first few minutes, like maybe 4 minutes of the film, Chrissy says one of my favorites, the original. You got the guy, the hitchhiker that's being picked up, and then the guy in the wheelchair, and he has a knife, or the dude has a knife, he cuts his hand open, and then he slices the guy. Slash, all throughout the movie, slashing. At the very end of the movie, in the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre, one of the brothers is chasing the girl down the road, slashing at her back. Slash, cut. She falls down, slashing. And again, in that one definition, you have women teenagers. Well, why is it women teenagers? That is a psychology in the horror genre. I mean, if you studying it, they feel, now this is not me talking, this is history of horror talking. Receptive, welcome to the show. Women are weaker. Women are dumber. Again, it's not me saying this. This is people in the horror industry saying this. Steve Martinez, my DP, welcome to the show. So, women were thought of as, oh, you're stupid. Now, what is the biggest cliches that you see in horror films? And I can count it in these older ones, even the ones that I haven't seen yet. They're running. Chrissy just invited 194 people to watch the show. Thank you very much, Chrissy. We're running. It's like, you know what? And cue the fall. Boom. And then she falls, and then the killer catches up to her. Teenagers, because they're usually getting drunk, getting high, or having sex, or if they're really cool, they're doing all three of those. WD or W Draft, welcome to the show. So those are the ones typically get killed in a horror film. And then another one of the originals. Before I show this film, this guy is one of my favorite all-time film makers. He's one of my favorite writers. He's one of my favorite music composers. And this gentleman, 1969, Jason Wise, welcome to the show, goes to USC, walks into class, that's the University of Southern California, walks into class, and one of the first things his teacher says to the crowd of students is, 98% of you guys in here will fail and be nothing in the movie industry. Well, this gentleman, and I've told this story before, this gentleman took this as a personal challenge. And challenge met. And thank you, sir. And he made a couple of movies before he made this one, Halloween. I am speaking of John Carpenter, my friends. One of my favorite films. This one is still in the package. I will open this on October 31st. I'm going to be doing a something in another state, which, again, I can't freaking talk about, which sucks. But anyway, bam, and I had the t-shirt on earlier. I wore it to school yesterday. But slasher films, you either love them or you hate them. Slasher films, by definition, are very brutal. They're very violent. They're very graphic. And Chrissy says, love them, exclamation point, exclamation point. Chrissy, if my memory serves me correctly, are you the young lady that that started watching films as a little girl, the horror films and whatnot? So let's go to. I already give you the definition from the dictionary, so let's kind of step over to Wikipedia. People love to go to Wikipedia. It's got a lot of useful information. Naomi Blakesley, welcome to the show. Naomi, ladies and gentlemen, she is a local makeup artist here in Northern California, Sacramento, and she did the makeup special effects for our first anthology film in our horror series called Hush Little Baby. You can go to Cellar13films.com and look up what she did. You can go to any of our Facebook pages. Now we have Rare Scout, welcome to the show. Now we have a Cellar 13 page, which is our business page, and that's more business oriented. Then we have our Cellar 13 Films community group, which is anything and anybody that is in the film, entertainment industry, TV industry, radio industry, actors, producers, directors, special effects, anyone in the realm, people that just want to learn about it. That's the group you want to go to. So go to Facebook, type in Cellar 13 Films Community, bam. Oh, Naomi, I don't know if you know this yet, but ladies and gentlemen, I just got an email earlier this week. We just got accepted, Hush Little Baby just got accepted in the Fake Flesh horror film festival in Canada. So man, we've been on several continents on our film festival, so that's pretty freaking awesome. So slasher films, according to Wikipedia, and I quote, are a subgenre of horror films typically involving violent psychopath stalking and murdering several people, usually with bladed tools. Although the term slasher is sometimes used informally as a generic term for any horror movie involving murder, analysts of the genre cite the established set of characters which set the film apart from other horror genres, such as splatter films and psycho horror films. End quote. When it comes to horror, though, horror, and as you guys that watch the show, that's my favorite genre. I love freaking horror. I love watching it. Chrissy says Silence of the Lambs slasher. I love making horror films. I love writing horror stories. I love writing horror scripts. And so the people love to be scared. It doesn't have to be Halloween time. People love to be scared. I like bringing out horror movies like February, March, where people don't expect it. But horror movies in general, Peter657, welcome to the show. So horror films horror has about 15 to 20 subgenres, and that's a story for another show. But people like to be scared. Now, there is the being scared as in you jump at certain things. There's frightened, like I'm going to have nightmares for the next 2 months scared. But just because it is a quote... Okay, take for instance, where a lot of people get scared on this particular slasher film, this franchise right here, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Where people get scared on this is it could really freaking happen. Wheel Guy, welcome to the show. It could really happen. Picture this. You're in a truck, a car, a van, whatever. There are 4 teenage kids, 5, 6, whatever, driving down a deserted road somewhere in Texas. Somewhere in, they run out of gas. They go to this gas station. There's no gas, so they got to stay around for the day. That could really, truly happen. Then you can get involved with some psychopath that you end up pissing off because you kick him out of your car because he's crazy, and you know, those kind of scenarios can happen. So when you think about that, even today in 2017, you could be driving down a dirt road somewhere here, even in California, and you know, there's deserted places here that you could run out of gas, do all that stuff. I mean, think of all of the serial killers that have happened just in California alone. Think of a true life slasher film. A gentleman by the name of Charlie Manson, his little group of little slasher freaks. You know, with the tape chick, killed her. She's pregnant. She was the wife of Polanski, Mr. Child Molester. So some of the, I mean, there's a ton of slasher films starting all the way back decades ago. Will Guy says, love Leatherface. And again, folks, if you guys have any questions throughout the show, just pop them out, and I'll do my best to answer. So, tons and tons and tons of slasher films. Let's go over the top 10 best slasher films of all time. Number 10, Scream. So, you know, you got Drew Barrymore cooking stuff in the kitchen, phone rings, you know, hello, Sydney, you know, what's your favorite movie? And it came out in 1996, so what, 21 years ago? 96? Yeah, 21 years ago. Some kids that, you know, dove into the horror genre just a little bit too much. You know, so they were going in and they, no holds barred on these people. I mean, the guy was antagonizing his girlfriend. I mean, they had a set schedule, and within that film, they actually talked about certain, and this is a information for another show, certain rules that you do and certain rules that you don't do within a horror film. So they talked about that throughout the movie, which I kind of liked. I mean, Scream was cool and everything. Again, something that technically could happen. There are some things that are just a little bit outlandish in the film. But number 9 falls in. Number 9, you've got Friday the 13th Part 2, if you're French, or Part 2. A lot of people consider the first Friday the 13th as a Halloween knockoff. You know, some people consider that. Wheel Guy says, love the great Wes Craven movies. Yes. So, let me take a drink of my cerveza real quick. Thank you very much. But if you look at movies like, Chrissy said, is Rosemary's Baby considered horror? I will answer that in just a second. But if you look at Mario Bava's A Bay of Blood, there's a lot of parallels and similarities to that in Friday the 13th Part 2. Part 2 was considered maybe the bloodiest of Friday the 13th franchise films. But again, that's a subject matter for another day. But to answer your question, Chrissy, is Rosemary's Baby considered a horror film? Oddly enough, I was asked that question about a month ago. Yes, it is, because you're dealing with A, the supernatural, B, occult, 3, Satan, 4, murder, and supernatural murder, supernatural birth, and whatnot. So yes, it is considered a horror movie. Number 8. Maybe you guys have heard of this film. Maybe you haven't. It is now if you know the director Dario Argento, I just watched one of his movies yesterday in a film class, Deep Red. It was made in Italy in 1975. Michael, welcome to the show, brother. Hey, Michael, we were in the same place today, man. So it's called Deep Red. It's made in 1975. It's a bit odd because it's hard to watch because sometimes they're speaking English, and then that quick they'll be jumping into German, and then they'll have 2 subtitles. Then they'll go back to English, then to Italian. You've got some shots in there that are extreme-wide, long establishing shots where dialogue's going on for it seems like forever. But he has his own way of making films, and as an artist, I never want to put down anyone's personal artistic vision because that's their vision. But Dario Argento is now his daughter is one of the females that is suing Weinstein. So Argento. Now the movie is called Tenebrae. Okay, Tenebrae. I would say watch this film. It's a cool film. It's a cool slasher film, and from an Italian guy's point of view and the way he makes his films, he really steps on the precipice of horror, and he really goes out on a limb and allows his artistic vision just to go off, and I can appreciate that. Number 7, coming in the top 10, it's called Black Christmas. Now, most people, when you watch the show, you're thinking, oh, it's got to be, Halloween, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Hellraiser, go all this stuff. Think of all the slasher movies of all time. The list that I'm pulling right now is slasher movies, all time, best slasher movies of all time. So this one's called Black Christmas. This movie is inspired by true events. These events happened in Quebec, Canada, and this movie spawned off. Trevor, 3414, welcome to the show. And it takes place in a sorority house. And basically, you have, these girls getting knocked off one by one. Boom, 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 boom. Sorority house. Crystal ornaments become lethal weapons. So the street seems desolate. And it's like on a college campus, and on the first college campus I was ever on, there's never a dull moment. But on this movie, it's like the college campus, it was like done. It was like desolate, no one around. But the context, we're not going to pick apart the movie, we're just talking about the context of slasher films. So, Black Christmas comes in at number 7. So there's probably 2 films right there that most of you, if not everyone, has not heard of. Number 6, you've got one that you will know, A Nightmare on Elm Street. 1984. 1984. So it seemed at that time that, yes, I can, Chrissy. I can put the list on the Facebook. Go to the group, the Cellar 13 Films community group. Go do that, and I will put that on there about 7:15. So slasher movies seem to be just dying out. It's like, it's gone, it's played out, you've done enough. Then Wes Craven comes along. Not only does he create a slasher movie, but he creates an iconic character, Freddy Krueger. You will know Freddy Krueger just by a hat or just by a sweater. Oh, that's Freddy Krueger. Certain tones of a score. Oh, that's Nightmare on Elm Street. A laugh. Oh, that's Freddy Krueger. I was talking to one of my actors' mother a couple months back, and she was telling me a story about like a real life freaking Freddy Krueger, not the one that came back from the dead, but what they did to this cat. Real life freaking story. I I'm going to talk to her more about that because I would love to make that film because it's a freaking true story. So, Freddy Krueger, Brandon Lopez, welcome to the show. Freddy Krueger is probably one of the most iconic because there's Freddy Krueger, Michael Myers, and Jason. Probably the most well-known right off the top. Then you got Candyman, you've got Leatherface, you've got, Pinhead. Bungee Cord, welcome to the show. For those of you just tuning in, you are watching and listening to Cellar 13 Films, Chips, Dips, Films, and Scripts. My name is Glenn Spillman, and you are listening to us on Arms Radio, and we are being aired to 60 countries at this moment. So, yes, Chucky. Someone said Chucky. There's 7 movies in that freaking series. I mean, you've got Chucky, Bride of Chucky, Curse of Chucky, The Cult of Chucky. So there's 7 films, and if you go, I believe right now they're selling as a box set for right around $30 to $37, depending on where that you go and find them. But you can find them used. You can go to places, used record stores and stuff, they sell movies. But, so that's number 6, A Nightmare on Elm Street, okay? Number 5, the one that I talked about before that has to do with the Friday the 13th Part 2. Day of Blood is number 5. It's also known as Blood Bath. And sometimes people, call it The Last House on the Left 2. So Bay of Blood, so it's a prototype for the modern day slasher film that we do now. If you look at some of the scenes in Bay of Blood, you're thinking, oh, that happened in Friday the 13th. When you see some of the ways that people die, the weapons that are used, you're like, oh, that's Friday the 13th. So there are similarities there. I don't have a problem. It's like Quentin Tarantino, he doesn't rip these people off. He pays homage to them. So he did a scene in one of his films that was a scene for scene, step by step, exact replica of Escape from New York. Scene by scene. So there's nothing wrong with that. But you just have to... So before Halloween, go see Bay of Blood, and then see Friday the 13th Part 2, and then you guys email me at glenn@cellar13films.com and let me know if you can see the similarities on those 2 films. And we talked about this earlier. Number 4, you've got Psycho. Got Janet Leigh, probably the most well-known scream queen of all time. And then you've got her daughter, Jamie Lee Curtis. Chrissy says, my all-time favorite, Psycho. So, Chrissy, let me ask you this question. 1, do you take showers with a shower curtain? Or if you ever go somewhere where there's a shower with the shower curtain, do you automatically think, is someone going to come in here and stab me with a knife? To this day, I was talking to people about a month ago about Psycho. To this day, people still get a little bit of afraid on taking a shower, period, and then especially taking a shower with the shower curtain. Number 3, Peeping Tom. It is a psychological, Chrissy says doesn't bother her. So before Psycho, like within a week or 2, this movie, Peeping Tom, came out in the UK. So far we've got Rodney Welch says love Peeping Tom. I hope you're being serious, Rodney. But it wrecked the career of its director. I mean, the director made Peeping Tom, wrecked his career. So in 1960, Michael Powell, he was a co-director of Tales of Hoffman. Oh, well, Rodney, yes, absolutely. Michael Powell masterpiece. All right. That's the one that, ruined his career. So Peeping Tom. And some of these movies, folks, if you guys have not seen them, go see them. See if they're on Netflix. Pop it in and see it. Number 2 of the all-time greatest slasher movies is the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Watch that movie carefully, closely. Watch the how they mock the people that they're going to kill. Watch their mannerisms, what they say. These people don't care if you're scared. They don't care if you know you're going to die. Now, Tobe Hooper, he's done some really cool films. And the guy that played Leatherface in that film is Gunnar Hansen. And to my knowledge, Gunnar Hansen lives here in Northern California. And and if that's true, and he's close to where I am, I'm going to go to him, and we're going to do a live show like we're doing now with Gunnar Hansen, the original Leatherface, on there. So Will Guy says, love it, one of my favorite movies. So you guys can ask your questions, and I will ask Gunnar all your questions. Of course, mine too. The thing about Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it's nonstop. I mean, throughout the whole movie, nonstop action, nonstop screaming, nonstop terror, nonstop horror, nonstop flashing, if you will. Rodney says, Gunnar has made films in South Carolina, where I live. Rodney, where do you live in South Carolina? I've been to Myrtle Beach. That's where my daughter, Paris, was conceived. Myrtle Beach. Spent a summer there. Columbia. All right. Coolio. What do you guys, before I reveal, and Facebook over here, you guys are quiet. You're like little freaking church mice. What do you guys think the number 1 all-time slasher movie is? What do you guys? Rodney says, look up Hell Block 13. I will do that. So Facebook, Periscope, everybody, what do you guys think the number 1 slasher film of all time is? Tell me what you think it is. I'll give you a few seconds to think about it, make a response. Chrissy says Jason movies. No, that is not one of the all-time. Yes, Rodney, right here. Bam, Halloween. Halla-freaking-ween. We talked about this earlier. John Carpenter's Halloween. Number 1 slasher film of all time. Now, if you think Raider Man says Creature from the Black Lagoon, well, Raider Man, you're late to the show. This is slasher movies. No. So, if you think about just the Halloween theme music, just those very few chords, when you play those chords, it's one of the very few chords that you could play and immediately go and know what it is. One of the most famous, you just have to go, da-dun, just those 2 beats. Oh, that's Jaws. So Halloween is the number freaking 1 slasher movie. And again, I've got all of the Halloween films. I will be binge watching those on Halloween. That's the best freaking time to watch them. Now, let's go on a thing called Banned and Brutal. About 14 films we're going to cover. We're going to try to cover here in the next 15 minutes. These are films that had a public outcry. People freaked out when these films came out, and they just different degrees of public outcry, but people freaked out about these. So, and we'll go over them a little bit quicker. 1980, Cannibal Holocaust. Okay? So, after, now, this is Italy, so it made, in 10 days, a release, it made 200 million Milano, okay? Web Circuit, welcome to the show. Then it was pulled. So, the next one that had a public outcry, and it came back, The Exorcist. People freaked out over The Exorcist because of, besides, dealing with Satan and possession and all that, the girl basically, was shoving a crucifix in her vag, and you guys know the dialogue that happened after that. So the crucifix masturbation scene, that was the one that really freaked everybody out. So, Faces of Death. Faces of Death, if anyone has seen it, basically it's true life stuff that is going on. It was filmed, it was put on a videotape, and people being shot, stabbed, people having sex with dead people, pulling out their bodies and intestines and all that. If you haven't seen Faces of Death, check it out. Just check it out. There's a few of them. Check it out. Portrait of a Serial Killer, 1986. Outcry. Production company didn't even want to give it a theatrical release. It back then, before the porn and everything, they wanted to give it an X rating because of the outlandish debacle of the film. And again, I know I'm going over these quickly, and I will put these up on the Facebook group page. Go check these films out, and then we'll talk about them and let me know what you guys think. One of these, I Spit on Your Grave. I love the movie. Very violent. It's got full frontal nudity from both men and women. Very violent rape scene. Very violent killing scenes. So, some people really hated this film to where they just, Roger Ebert was one of them. I mean, people were asking why this film was even made. There's two versions of this. There's the original one, and there's the remake of I Spit on Your Grave. Honestly, I have not seen the remake yet because I just have personal issues with movies that are remade. I just don't mess with a good thing. The next one is I Stand Alone, 1998. Then you've got Last House on the Left, which is kind of I Spit on Your Grave-ish. Last House on the Left, 1972, guys, go check that out. So, Night of the Living Dead, 1968, George Romero's film. It's a freaking zombie film. It's not that violent. Maybe for 1968, but there was other stuff going on. Rodney says Last House kind of bored him. Then you've got Psycho, 1960. People freaked out about that one. A Serbian film, 2010. Outcry on that. Silent Night, Deadly Night, 1984. Snuff, 1976. Well, and then, of course, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, 1974. People just freaked out over it. And that was the 14 films that people just freaked out over. And, some of those, I mean, again, man, it is art. There's different visions of art. You can have 10 directors given the same script, and you're going to have 10 different versions of a film. Some of them will be a lot more violent than others. But I think in real life, when real life violence happens, what's wrong with talking about it? What's wrong with filming it? What's wrong with showing it? Real life violence. Last thing that we're going to go over tonight in our slasher series, and we couldn't do this without the 10 best Scream Queens. 10 best Scream Queens. So, I mean, everyone's got their own ideas and versions of whatnot. But in some of these Scream Queens, there are probably a few Chrissy and Rodney probably won't agree with on some of them. JP Cervantes, welcome to the show. Rodney says, Henry is a really good film, disturbing, but not exploitive, just real. So, Sidney Prescott, Scream, is the number 10 on our Scream Queens. Okay? Bobber 4144, welcome to the show. Mrs. Voorhees, Friday the 13th, is number 9. Number 8 is Jennifer from Jennifer's Body on the Scream Queen. I know who my number 1 is. Let's see who they think it is. Number 7, Nancy Thompson. Okay, Nightmare on Elm Street. I could dig that. I think she would have been a little bit higher, but I could dig that. Number 6, Sarah from The Descent. I would think that A Nightmare on Elm Street would be a better pick than The Descent. But again, I didn't pick these. These are now Carrie White from Carrie. I could dig that one. She's number 5. So now we're in the top 5. Rodney says, bet your number 1 is Victoria. So, number 4, we have Selena from 28 Days Later. I don't see that. Sleepaway Camp, you got Angela Baker. Yeah, I don't see that either. But again, it's my personal opinion. Well, I'm a little saddened by this number 2, but at least they're in the top 3. But you've got Laurie Strode, Halloween, a.k.a. Jamie Lee Curtis. So she's number 2. And the number 1 Scream Queen, and I don't agree with this at all, 0%, shouldn't even be in the top 10, shouldn't even be here, is Ellen Ripley from Alien. I don't think that is even accurate at all. 0, zip, nada, nothing. But again, that's my opinion. And I guess, well, JCP Cervantes says, nope, I don't either. Real quick, I want to give a shout out to makeup artist. Yes, Roddy's different genre. Dan Acosta. For those of you out there needing some makeup special effects out there, this guy's working on my film presently right now. Dan Acosta, he is the owner of Happy Death FX. You could look him up on Instagram, which I talked to him several times. I need him to change his name. It's his own business, but his name is Cheese Nipper on Instagram. Go to Cheese Nipper. It's not very horror-ish, is it, folks? But go to happydeath@hotmail.com. Dan, you got to change your freaking email too, brother. No one uses Hotmail anymore, or freaking Yahoo. They're about to close AOL. But contact Dan Acosta. Tell him that you heard about him from Glenn Spillman on Cellar 13 Films, Chips, Dips, Films, and Scripts. So again, it's happydeath@hotmail.com. His Instagram is Cheese Nipper. CheeseNipper. Go follow him on Instagram. And on that note, go to our Instagram, Cellar 13 Films. Follow us. Follow us on Twitter, Cellar 13 Films. Like our Facebook page, Cellar 13 Films. Go to our Facebook group, Cellar 13 Films Community. That is everything film, Cellar 13 Films. Go to our website, cellar13films.com. Check out everything that we're doing. Then, lastly, ladies and gentlemen, go to YouTube, type in Cellar 13 Films. We got a trailer there for Hush Little Baby. Check that out. We got a trailer for A Raven's Cry, the film that we're filming right now. And then a film that we won audience favorite in the Sacramento Film and Music Festival. The Choice is on there. So check those out, follow us, and we would really appreciate the support. If at any point in time where you guys have a question that you want asked on the show, go to Cellar13films.com. My information is on there. And or if there's a topic, say, hey, Glenn, I want you to talk about this topic. 100%, man. I will get that on the next show because we are on air. And if you can, follow our Periscope as well. And invite people. Invite people to watch the show. We're on live every single Friday at 5 o'clock Pacific time. That's the West Coast. Mr. South Carolina. So that's 5 o'clock. That is 8 o'clock your time. Chrissy, where are you watching from again? If you're still watching, where are you watching from? As a matter of fact, anyone that wants to pop off and let me know where you're watching from, I'm always curious to know and who you guys are. We got Colorado. All right, Colorado. We got North Carolina in the house and South Carolina in the house. Awesome. So yeah, guys, I'd appreciate it if you guys would invite people to like the Periscope page because I really like the interaction that I get. It's one thing to do a radio show, and we've got people listening to it, and that's great. But it is another thing, 100%, to talk to you guys almost face to face. And you know, if I'm ever in your area doing a film, I'll let everybody know, hey, I'm going to be here at this date. And if any of you guys are around that time, let's get together and we'll do a show from wherever you're at. And we cover everything film. Obviously, it's Halloween season, so I'm covering horror stuff. And again, it's my favorite genre anyway. We cover stuff that has to do with acting, directing, producing, what an AD is, how to read a call sheet, how to pick out a good headshot. Everything that you could possibly think of in film, we talk about. And we will even, like this thing right here that I've got sitting here. This is an arm for a C-stand, you know. Something as simple as an arm on a C-stand. We will teach you. We're going to do live shows to teach people how to use a C-stand. You will be surprised on how many people that are on a film set that don't know how to use something simple like that. And so get your questions ready, your comments, and just let us know, and I'll talk about it. I'm going to get with my DP, Steve Martinez, and we're going to build a camera rig that will cost you at the most $15. And it does just as good of a job as something that you would pay $800 for. I promise you. It is literally maybe four things. Someone said, I learned the hard way during hunting. Learn the hard way of what, brother? So yeah, we'll show you. I mean, it's like four. Go to our other site. We have an online magazine, movieloversunite.com. And I teach you how to build a boom pole for $20. Chrissy, thank you for tuning in. Tonight is my daughter's opening night. Well, you better get your daughter freaking play, Chrissy. We're almost done anyway. We got 3 minutes. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. Tell her good luck, by the way. No, break a leg. Don't say good luck. Say break a leg. And that would suck if she really broke her. Oh, zombie prom. That's awesome. Zombie prom. Well, too bad Dan DaCosta's not there because he could zombie her up. Freaking awesome. But again, seriously, folks, I want to thank everyone that watched on our Facebook group page. Everyone on Periscope, I appreciate you guys. Rodney says, may I suggest a brand new indie exploitation movie to you? The Theta Girl. Is that Theta as in, when I think Theta, I think of the Greek system in college. But, hey, Rodney, go to my website, my email, glenn@cellar13films.com. Email me, and let's talk about this. Because if you got ideas, I want to hear them. I love ideas. I'm a filmmaker, and I can make things come true. Do my best to do it. I'm an actor, I'm a writer, I'm a producer, all things in film. I've been in the film industry since I was 8 years old, and I absolutely love it. I don't have a normal job as people do. I quit the corporate world making 6 figures a year. I don't like the rat race. I freaking hate it. And I love making film. I just filmed this last Saturday with almost a brand new crew. Some of my actors, that was their last scene. We're filming our second film in our 8-film anthology. And I had an absolute freaking blast with these guys. I love to film, whether it's day, morning, night, whether I got to drive 3 hours to be on set at 7 o'clock in the morning to act in a film. I don't care. I love film that much. But folks, my time is up. I hope everyone has a good Friday, a happy Friday, a safe Friday. Cheers to everybody. I will be back on air next Friday at 5 p.m. Pacific. I've got to be at the Bay Area at 9 o'clock in the morning to shoot our very first day of filming on a film called Wretched. It's going to be a series of films, and I'm going to be on set doing that. I wish I had one of the props here to show you guys, but I don't. This is one of the films that the director, they say, blast it out. We don't care who you tell. And then there's others that say, shut your freaking mouth. But anyway, folks, thank you very much. I appreciate you guys. Peace out. We'll see you next week. I love ya.
Words and weapons, sharpen the knives. Makes you wonder how the other half died. Devil inside.
Microphone activated.
Every single one of us, the devil inside.